The US State Department just designated a Nordic neo-Nazi group as terrorists. And while they don't have any official members or formal affiliates in Canada, there appears to be just one Canadian group they've publicly cozied up to. Diagolon. Here's what's going on. The newly designated terrorist group, the Nordic Resistance Movement, was banned from Finland in 2020 after years of its members being convicted of numerous acts of violence, including the 2016 death of a man they assaulted in Helsinki. In its fact sheet on the terrorist designation on Friday, the US State Department described the group as, quote, openly racist, anti-immigrant, anti-Semitic, and anti-LGBTQI+, and noted they had carried out violent attacks against political opponents, protesters, journalists, and other perceived adversaries. In fact, not even a day before NRM was designated a terrorist group, a 12-year-old child of foreign background was stabbed in Finland. The man who was charged in the attack is a one-time member of the Nordic Resistance Movement. Meanwhile, the US State Department said the group is being designated for having, quote, committed or attempted to commit, posing a significant risk of committing, or having participated in training to commit acts of terrorism that threaten the security of United States nationals or the national security, foreign policy, or economy of the United States. These guys are no joke. While researching this story, I spoke to Peter Smith, an investigative journalist with the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. He told me there are no Canadian members of the group, as membership is, quote, very formal, and there are requirements at each level, including that you have to be associated with a regional chapter. But that doesn't mean they don't cozy up to others around the world. And guess who was just on the Nordic Resistance Movement's English language podcast in January? Diagolon leader Jeremy Mackenzie. He joined them just a month after fellow Diagolon figurehead Alex Brand went on in December, when he told them he's a big fan of their podcast.
I've been listening to you guys for, I don't know, close to a year now anyways, and I'm a big fan of the podcast, so it's a pleasure to be on it.
Brand was also particularly upset when the terrorist designation came down. Here's what Smith had to say about this. Unlike Diagolon, the Nordic Resistance Movement is very open that they are a National Socialist organization and have a clearly defined ideology laid out on their website. Diagolon has always included racist and white nationalist themes, but them throwing their support behind an openly neo-Nazi group with a long history of violence, I think, signals Diagolon's continued drift towards very explicit militant white nationalism, certainly in rhetoric. So yeah, maybe cool it with the idiotic op-eds. What do you think of all this?